Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, Errol Spence has come out and he's basically, shut down the haters, or shut down the people that were calling him a ducker and saying that he was ducking the fight. And he's shown proof that he had a fracture or a tear in his retina. And I'm pretty sure that's probably quiet. Like, there's still going to be people out there that are going to be questioning Errol Spence's injury, saying that that was all a facade and he just put a picture out there just to, but it's not real, this, that, and the other. You can question anything, to be honest. If you're that, believe what you believe. If you believe what you believe, you can question anything. You can say, oh well, he's lying, But Errol Spence, for me, like I said, he has no history of pullouts. He has no history of not making weight. We cannot accuse somebody of ducking somebody just because he's ducked one of our favorite fighters. That it's just unfair. It's an unfair criticism, and to be honest with you, my stance stays firm on it. To be honest, my stance stays firm on it, and I think Errol Spence has done that because he wanted to show everybody that, listen, I had a legitimate injury. When you think about it, I said the other day that I don't know why Errol Spence would want to duck out this fight. What does he have to lose? What does he have? He has a lot to lose, but what does he? He has a lot to gain. He has a legend to put on his resume. He has a huge amount of money. Like, do you understand? Like, he's gone through a whole training camp and now he's lost millions. We're talking about his highest payday. We're not talking about him pulling out a fight where, he's a multi-millionaire, like made 60, 70 million and he's pulling out for like £1 million. He just can't be asked. We're talking about a guy that was probably motivated like anything because he was fighting a legend. He was getting an opportunity to fight, in such a big event. He was getting an opportunity to get his biggest payday, and now all of that's been taken away. And also, all of that's been taken away and he may not get it back. And what I mean by that is there's a chance Manny Pacquiao may never fight again. There are rumors that he may not fight again, that, there's elections next year and Manny might not fight again. Then that means Errol Spence will never get to face Manny Pacquiao again. Or not again, but he'll never get to face Manny Pacquiao. Do you think Errol Spence would want to take that risk by, not making weight or not looking good in sparring and thinking I'm going to protect? Or even if it's Al Heyman, he knows that at the end of the day, Al Heyman isn't in control of whether Manny Pacquiao retires or not. If Manny Pacquiao decides to retire, that he decides to retire. That's Manny Pacquiao's call, not anyone else's call. And by Errol Spence, not because the reason why, why this fight was so important for Errol Spence? Because Errol Spence beating Manny Pacquiao would have made him a superstar. Now, you guys will say, well, he weren't going to beat Manny Pacquiao because, he weren't looking good in sparring and this, that. But the fact is, I feel like Errol had a lot more to gain in this fight than to lose. He had a lot more to gain. He had, firstly, the highest payday of his career to gain, right? He had, if he beats Pacquiao, he probably becomes that crossover star that America have been looking for. And this is what I'm trying to say, that Errol Spence, there was no reason for him to duck out of that fight. There's no reason. And Errol Spence, like I said, doesn't strike me as a guy that would be afraid of challenges. He strikes me as somebody that would welcome challenges. Remember, this is a guy that's faced serious adversity in his career. He went through a life-changing experience. Like, I'm talking a horrific car crash. Horrific car crash. We're talking about a car crash that when most of us looked at that video, we thought that, how did he even come out of that alive? That's how horrific that car... Like, if you saw that video and you didn't know what happened and someone asked you, did you think that guy survived? You'd probably say no. With how bad it was. So he came back from all of that, from broken bones and God knows what he suffered, right? Psychological damage and, mentally being affected. There's a lot of things when you go through an accident. I know people, right? I know people that have had accidents nowhere near as dangerous as that, nowhere near as life-threatening as that. and they've not been the same person. Mentally, their lives changed. This guy didn't just come back from that, which a lot of people thought was a miracle. He didn't just get himself mentally back. He also went back in a ring. And then he didn't just go back in the ring. He went back in the ring with no tune-ups against Danny Garcia. Like, imagine that. Imagine not even, like, nobody would have but an eyelid about Errol Spence having a tune-up fight. Errol Spence having an easy fight. He went in with a probably top 5, top 6 welterweight. A welterweight at the time that had only lost twice against guys who are seen as 2 of the best in the welterweight division, and especially one of them, many people felt he won, the Porter fight. And Thurman was razor thin loss. Split decision, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'm trying to point out is, how are we questioning a guy with that kind of mindset? Like, he came back from a life-threatening accident, right? He didn't just get back mentally, he got back in the ring, which was, for me, that was staggering, the fact that he got back in the ring. Then he got back in the ring against a top welterweight. He didn't just get back in the ring with a top welterweight, he also schooled the top welterweight. He schooled him. He absolutely schooled Danny Garcia. And I actually thought Danny Garcia would be dangerous for Errol Spence. And he completely neutralized Garcia. That tells me that Errol Spence is made of special stuff. That Errol Spence he's the real deal, guys. There's very few people that can come back from stuff like that and fight or compete at a high level. Very few. And Errol Spence did. He deserves a lot of credit. Like I said, I wouldn't have, but that Errol Spence had a tune-up fight, or even a couple of tune-up fights. If Errol Spence had like 2 or 3 tune-up fights, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. Because, like I said, when you come back from that, you don't want to be going in there and fighting another dangerous guy. You know, because you don't know how your body's going to respond. Now, of course, they trained and sparring and all of that would show it, you know, side effects if there were. But still, under the bright lights, under everything, your body could freeze. You know, but he didn't. Like I said, he came back and he performed at the very highest level and he did great. But yet people still seem to think that, you know, he would duck out of a Manny Pacquiao fight because he wasn't making weight. And here's the thing. When has Errol Spence never, ever made weight? When has he ever not made weight? You know, he fought Danny Garcia in December. He made weight. Was it November or December? I can't remember. But he made weight. That was only a couple of months back. What, 7, 8 months back? Are we saying now he can't make weight at all in 7 months, 8 months later? You know, we just seen him. And we didn't just see him make weight. We seen him perform unbelievably. What I'm trying to say to you guys, sometimes I think we can get a little emotional about the situation. I get we were all upset that the fight didn't happen. We were all upset. I was gutted. I was devastated that the fight is not happening. Because I wanted this fight bad. To be honest with you, I was really looking forward to this fight. There was something to look forward to. And it got cancelled and it was just a nightmare. But to start throwing accusations at someone that, like I said, hasn't got a history of that. Like, anyone can get injured. If someone gets injured time and time again, I can understand. Like, some people, you just know that they have a history of pulling out. So you can never trust them until they're in the ring. Errol Spence isn't one of those guys. Some people legitimately, you know, pull out. They just injury prone. Like David Haye, for example. Like, I don't think he used to pull out intentionally. I just think he was injury prone. And with Spence, you know, he probably suffered a serious retina injury. You know, in sparring, it can happen. When you're preparing hard for fights, when you're preparing hard, right? Sparring, a lot of times, a lot of these guys sometimes are going really hard because they want to replicate what it'd be like in a fight. Because iron sharpens iron. When they get inside that ring, they want to be at their absolute peak. And nothing comes as a shock. So to me personally, you know, but I hope Errol Spence does come back. And I hope both guys saying that they want to fight each other. I hope so. I hope we do get this fight because I want to see it. I want to see Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao. But at the same time, we've also got to understand that, you know, a fighter's health is more important. Like Errol Spence, as Steven pointed out yesterday, that he's got a family just like everybody else. You know, they don't want him to be fighting with a hurt eye. You know, you've got to live with your, like, boxing is a short time frame. You know, you've got to live with your eyes for the rest of your life. So if you have permanent damage there, you know, how are you going to see? Like, this is why I say about, like, Kell Brook, for example, that he's got a damaged eye and he should consider his future. I know he wants to fight on and take on Khan, but that's not so bad because he's fighting somebody that's past his best. So it may not be so bad. But like I said, Errol Spence, you know, he came back from that accident and he's not just fighting at like he's fighting at high level. He's fighting at the elite level. And even with this injury, you know, hoping he does recover. And he has, like he said, he'd come back from worse. He has come back from worse. You know, and you've got to say this man has, in the last 1 or 2 years, has, you know, things haven't gone his way in terms of injuries. You know, he suffered, you know, and his momentum has been stopped. You know, when he had that accident, he was on top of the world. His momentum, it stopped him. He was out for a while. The accident took a lot of time out of his life. And then he managed to put in a great performance against Garcia. But it took, you know, it took a while for him to get back in the ring. Now he's suffered another eye injury. Who knows? He may not be back in the ring for another year. So now it's stifled the momentum again. So, yeah, hopefully Spence can get back to his best. I really like Spence. I think he's a good fighter. But, yeah, I do feel like some of the criticism that Spence got about ducking Pacquiao was a very, very harsh. But what do you guys make of it? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.